Hey, I'm sick, you see? I can't tell you what I suffer from exactly because there isn't a term for it in the entire English dictionary. And thus, I don't exist to an extent. I don't exist in fiction, I don't exist in media, and it so happens the type of media I primarily consume and engage with are video games. Romantic love is an unusual theme to explore in a video game medium in and of itself. In games, to find love that is central to the narrative, you have to dig really deep. And I mean dim to liminal horror mob level deep. And I'm being completely serious, by the way. I wish I was joking, but that's just the case. And look, with my condition, this absence is just not helping me, let's just say that. My illness is love itself. I'm biochemically possessed by love, and no one really knows what to do with me. If I ask you to recall a single game where love is crucial to the story, let's just say it might take you a little while to remember just one. As if love is barely worth mentioning. It's often optional, secondary to everything, pretty much. There are subplots about love, but it's never the main force driving the story, it's never the point.
It's lovely.
And my point is, I couldn't recall a single story or a single character that I resonated with. That is, until I discovered Transistor.
Hey, Red. We're not gonna get away with this, are we?
I found what I was looking for in that game. It simply accepts me for who I am, and this video is probably an attempt to be accepted by you as well. I've been working on this passion project of mine for the past 6 or so months. I just want to show you how it feels to be me. It's hard for people to merely hear me as my struggle is so different. It got to the point I related most to mute characters, like Red, the protagonist of Transistor. She has much to say. She's worried, scared even, but she's unable to express it. I felt similar many times in my life. I didn't lose my voice, but I don't feel like I have one to begin with. I'm very quiet by nature, extremely introverted and socially anxious. And when I tried speaking about my worries, I was rarely heard, and by rarely I mean never. What I have is essentially an extreme form of codependency. Or it can also be love addiction. Or a very high level of affective/emotional dependence. All these terms are used interchangeably, so I don't really know which one I have. I'm not sure because none of the terms I've mentioned have an established definition. I barely exist even in scientific papers, so no, totally invisible, I guess.
I'm on TV, Ma! Look at me, I'm on TV!
I just had to suffer from depression for a few years and wait for my English to improve to a level that would allow me to read academic literature in the first place. My pain is considerably measurable. Nobody yet knows how to define me, and I don't exist outside of this research. And what's important is that you don't connect to scientific articles. You connect to characters, to their stories. I've been playing video games since I was about 4 years old. I connect most of them, so the absence of me in them hurts on a very personal level. I feel like an outcast. I feel like I don't exist. Games do tell stories that people resonate with on a very deep emotional level. Stories about grief, familial love, or self-acceptance. But not stories I people like me could resonate with. Celeste, for example, is a game about climbing a mountain. One that is largely, if not entirely, within oneself. By nature, that is not my mountain. Self-acceptance is important, but for me, self is just not enough. Mental health is more prominent than ever. And is also the case in video games. It's getting more exposure with each passing year. It's one of the main themes that games touch upon now. It's now important. My story, on the contrary, is getting less prominent, less important with each passing year. Video games help people with depression and anxiety, and so do stories where people can see themselves in. Self-acceptance is one of the most powerful tools in fighting off depression. I accept myself fully, but I just don't see any acceptance beyond self. I just don't see characters that go through what I go through. To accept something, you first have to acknowledge it, and I don't feel like video games acknowledge my existence. You see where I'm going with this. It is hard, I'm sad and lonely. Love is seemingly not worth a story about it nowadays. I am, on the contrary, entirely dependent on love. Without love, I am incapable of feeling peace. It's just crippling. I am in a constant state of withdrawal that never ends. Love is my obsession, my passion, my hobby, my routine, my dream, my comfort. Love is everything to me. Change seems like the most logical next step to end this misery. The problem is, personally, I am both incapable of and unwilling to change, and I hope that by the end you'll see why. And look, I'm a Ukrainian high school dropout. I may have read a few dozen studies on my condition, but I am not a mental health professional. This is not a guide on mental health. I may dive into psychology on occasion, but first and foremost, I'm trying to tell my story to the best of my ability as a non-native speaker, of course. I want to show you what video games are capable of, how much do they discourage me, and how much hope do they give me. I have completed the majority of games I'll use footage from or talk about. I love most of them to bits, but none of them touched me like Transistor did. If you don't mind, I'll do a very quick introduction to the game and then we come back to love, psychology, games and all that stuff. I find the game so comforting because I found myself within Transistor and its story. The story of love, an obsession, of miserable dread and of a blissful reverie. The story of Red. Red was a singer whose voice was stolen as Nishnatan by a group called the Camerata, in which her lover stayed alive but was himself absorbed into the Transistor, this giant cyberpunk sword thing that the Camerata tried to kill Red with. So essentially she's now in love with a circuit board, and the feeling is mutual.
There's a boyfriend in that sword.
I love you. You know that, right?
And here's your weapon. I worry talkative at that.
Well, so do I.
On the surface level, Transistor is a very unique experimental action RPG, and it's also just fun. The game is like 5 hours long and I've clicked in 50 replaying it at this point. Beneath the surface there is a very complex story about the nature of choice, art and love. And by complex I mean people are writing 30,000 word blog post breakdowns. Complex.
Hello, world. Look at all that.
The game is set place in the digital city of Cloudbank, a city where every single voice counts. People even vote for what weather they want.
Rain's not even on the ballot.
Apart from that though, you won't be sure about much. The game opens up with you pulling out the transistor out of your partner's body, then bombards you with exposition and doesn't explain a thing. You don't know why were you attacked, what are you fighting or where are you going really. You'll have many questions and that is a constant, but it really hooks you. Transistor is one of those games that leave a lot for the player to crack and interpret their own way. I love ambiguous storytelling, stories that give you agency. Now that I've mentioned ambiguous storytelling, the theme map in question from the beginning is MyHouse.wad. I use footage from it quite a lot. I highly recommend playing it yourself. It's a beautiful experience and I haven't seen anything like it really. You can also watch r.i.p's brilliant video on it if you haven't seen it already, but there's more to it than just that video.
For a short time, you brought a little happiness to this painful existence called life. That's my read on things. A tribute to a difficult life which love briefly illuminated. It's intentionally vague, and I think its opaque and confusing nature is part of the point to illustrate trauma. So why not play it for yourself? Explore its many corners, read these documents, and see what conclusions you draw. Maybe
the conclusion I draw from Transistor also boils down to love. Love that feels genuine, despite Red's condition.
I'm so sorry, Red. They took your voice. I couldn't stop them. Well, we took something of theirs. Hey, let's just go. Come on, just go.
Red can no longer speak, but you see her emotion in every little cutscene and in her songs that she can no longer sing, but she can still hum them. There are a few songs that are played in the game that are both written and sung by Red in the universe. I'll avoid using vocal tracks for now. There's a particular song of hers that I want you to hear at the very end, after you hear her story. My English will never be eloquent enough to put into words how much this song means to me. Her story and her lover Autumn's story touched me so much that I'm making this 40-something minute video essay. I personally like to think that the plot is so ambiguous because we see everything through Red's eyes. We see her perspective on things, and that's why everything seems so blurry. She doesn't care ultimately why or how. All she does throughout the game is fueled by the desire to see her loved one again, to bring him back.
Of course I do. We'll figure it out when we get there. Red.
All I have is an all-encompassing theme in this game, and it's completely absent elsewhere in the video game medium. You could find it in film, print, or in canvas, but not here. Gustav Klimt was a 19th and 20th century Austrian painter. His work was also great inspiration for the art you see in Transistor. He constantly struggled with, questioned, and thought about love and its nature, and he's not alone in that, far from it actually. Countless other artists found love deserving of creation. A lot of past tense because it's no longer the case. Not just in games, not just to portray love. Love itself is in decline. Love is now secondary to everything. I just feel like people think of it as a burden rather than a priority more and more as years go by. And apparently it's not just how I feel. Less people than ever get into relationships. Less people than ever see it as a source of happiness. People see serious commitment as a distraction from things that actually matter. People don't believe in love anymore. People are tired of and deeply disappointed in love. I just want to show you what people have to say about love. The majority of people nowadays, I believe.
Love is awful and scary and sad. Most people now seem very aware that romantic ideals are completely unrealistic. For centuries now, the most popular and universal story has been the story of romantic love, which goes like this. There is a person, one person, who will make you happy. Already a lot to contend with there.
But then when this happens, you're supposed to be as secure and fulfilled as you were in your mother's womb, as blissful as a Christian in heaven, and all of this has to last forever.
But looking for that in your partner does tend to lead to very codependent, unequal relationships. Your partner probably doesn't want to be your mommy or daddy. And also, no one has time for crawling up into the womb when you have a double mortgage on your home.
Without Shem, nothing is now a redundant, anachronistic way of thinking. I'm universally told that I worship a long dead, disproven God. The problem is, with the way that I am, I'm given no choice in the matter, really. And that's why I value Transistor so much. Not only does it explore this long dead, disproven God, but also in a medium where this God was never worshipped in the first place. Anyone who plays the game will understand the connection Red shares with Autumn. Their relationship is central. Those little moments of affection mattered there, and thus vivid and clear, in contrast with everything else that was happening in Cloudbank.
Must be starving. Sea monster's really the only choice here. Yes. Just have to get back to your place before it gets cold. Well, at least Junction Jan's delivered. Flatbread delivery's still going strong. Not so bad when it's cold. Not that I know anymore. Help yourself, I'm good.
By the way, what is happening in Cloudbank? The end times are 9, the process is processing it, bit by bit. What's the process, you may ask? You wouldn't get it, yet at least. Neither would you get what the Camerata is, how the process was unleashed by them, what we were trying to achieve, and what deeper metaphysical social commentary the subplot contained.
Yeah, I got nothing.
We had a saying, which goes, when everything changes, nothing changes. You see, when everything changes, nothing changes. But all this isn't what we had in mind.
The Camerata was dissatisfied with the lack of meaning in any choice, when everything is a choice. The Kubernetes plan to absorb influential citizens into the transistor and thus unlock new transistor functions until they have enough different abilities so that they can reshape Cloud Bank is everything but simple. Doesn't sound too cryptic when I put it this way. In reality, you have to link all the pieces together, slowly, perhaps in a span of multiple playthroughs. It's obfuscated, ambiguous on purpose. I pursue it as a background, as something secondary, almost in rebellion to the genre, medium, and era. There is a reason I asked you in the very beginning if you could recall a single game where love was crucial to the story. You might not have realized how insignificant love was portrayed to be. It's always the part that games don't focus on, leave as optional content. It's blurry, it's a background. And that's why Transistor is an exception. Love is front and center in Transistor. It's easier to understand, as opposed to the socio-political turmoil that you have to read hundreds of words on in the optional character database to grasp the basic idea of what is going on. And that's actually important for the case I'm building here. There is one entry in the database that I find relevant to my story. Aaron's entry. The lack thereof of an entry. He was not registered in the Cloud Bank system. He just did not engage with society at all.
Looks like you get to put off selection for a while longer.
He's content with living the rest of his days as a giant cyberpunk sword thing, as long as it means right is with him.
Then we can watch everything around us wash away, hand in hand.
And when that clicked in my brain, the game really started pulling strings in my soul. Similarly with Auden, I don't want to engage with society more than I have to. Like everything from Russ' perspective, the world around me is just a blur. I get how it works, but I don't want to partake in it. I don't focus on it. I'm quite repulsed by all the cruelty, and that's another reason why I value love so much. In this sea of cruelty, I see a light, and I want to hold on to this light for as long as I can. I'm very much a hopeless romantic, as you could have guessed by now. What I deeply wish for is a quiet and peaceful life with a significant other someplace we can call our own. It doesn't matter if it's a small one-bedroom apartment or a spacious house somewhere in the mountains. All matter doesn't matter to me. Only this special connection does. Any place on earth will do, as long as we can be together, that is. What I want is to move out to the country, if you may.
Everybody's packing it up for the country.
The country is a heavily referenced concept in the game. It's an allegory for death, the afterlife, and a location. A more peaceful one. A reverie of sorts. I'm a human being and I merely wish for peace. People may find peace in different things. I can only find it in love. Only in love. I need something Red Aden had before all that happened. Whatever happened. What I need is not just a relationship. Just a relationship won't last. Being in a relationship with me is akin to taking a pet cockatoo. It's an insane commitment, something that most people are not ready for. I'll simply be too much.
Well, hi there. This is a cockatoo. If you're watching this video to find out if a cockatoo is the right fit for you, it almost certainly is not.
Cockatoos can become cuddly almost to a fault. If you want a companion that wants to hang out with you all of the time, then a cockatoo can be a really attractive option. But I mean all of the time. Is this something you would enjoy for a few days or for the next few decades? Very few people that get cockatoos end up willing to live that kind of life long term. And cockatoos can become very destructive and self-destructive when they don't get the level of interaction that they need. Birds in general are not easy pets. A cockatoo is a completely new way of living your life, for possibly the rest of your life. Which is why parrots like these are the most surrendered, at least by percentages, of all pets. And this is why these animals are so often purchased and then surrendered. Do you want this life? You need to be very honest with yourself about that. And if you want this life now, will you still want this life in 10 years? 50?
And yes, before experiencing Transistor, the closest thing I could relate to was a parrot species. Sounds fun, I guess. Do I even need to explain how depressing this picture is? People don't often understand me. It is expected from a 20-year-old male to go out and drink or something, to be emotionally independent. Committing to a relationship, settling, and living in peace is not expected from me. And just to clarify, I am a 20-year-old cisgender male. I just have a very feminine voice and I can't do anything about it, so yeah. And it doesn't help that my condition is predominantly a female pathology. The mere fact that I need love this much is also making me more feminine in the eyes of people, I guess. And need is a key word here, because I'm the way that I am, right? Love is the only thing I need in life. Nothing else feels worth living for other than this. Nothing else matters. I'm stuck in this perpetual vicious cycle, a never-ending, exhausting cycle. The only thing I need from life is love, but to find love I have to be out there. I have to constantly meet new people. Which I'm not doing because I'm extremely introverted and socially anxious and borderline asocial. I really don't enjoy doing that. I really don't. So to do that, I have to spend a lot of strength. And the only thing that gives me strength to do things that I don't want to do, things that I hate, is love itself. Yeah. It shouldn't take you too long to find a logical error in this equation. It does not compute.
End is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
That's my life. It is cosmically unlikely that I'll ever find love again. Imagine that you have only one thing in your life you care about, and you're practically doomed to never find this thing. That is my life. It may sound hopeless because I am. It may feel insurmountable because it is. And I should probably roll over and accept my fate of dying from TB at the age of 30, lying on some cardboard, homeless and alone. But I kinda don't want that. I can't describe how hard it is to find someone my age ready to commit to the same degree. Someone with the same capacity for love. It's not even about being ready, really, because people don't think about it, don't consider serious relationships at my age. Be consciously ready or not, you have to at least think about the subject. I thought it was insurmountable, and most of the time it still feels like it is, but love itself is so great that I keep on keeping on for some reason. Love became something spiritual for me. When you have no faith, the climb can indeed be hard, pretty much impossible. And like with more traditional beliefs and religions, one can lose faith and gain faith. The story of Transistor, and especially the ending, did help me reignite this little ember of hope that was slowly smoldering inside my soul. With all this heavy-loaded, fatalistic language, it may sound absurd that all I want from life is to find a girl who'll play Minecraft with me all day long. Someone that just shares my passions. Someone who won't get bored of me after a week, after a month, or a year, and surrender me back to the pet shop as if I was a cockatoo. Am I being silly? Am I asking for too much from life? And speaking of spiritual, I really don't think that you signed up for a Bible reading session with a depressed 20-year-old who has barely comprehensible English when you clicked on a video game video essay, but here I am and you can't stop me, so... If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a nosy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith, so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. But the greatest of these is love. And look, everything I'm talking about is my own experience. I am an individual. I am not and cannot be a representative of all people that struggle with love addiction or /affective dependence or whatever the label they're gonna agree on in the end. But this passage largely refers to agape, Abraham and God's love for creation, its highest form. I'm very much an agnostic. Love is my religion. But I found infinitely more comfort in this passage than I did after reading dozens of self-help articles seemingly made for people like me. In the current day and age, focus lies on self-help and self-love. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but what if it doesn't work for me? What then? Am I supposed to never seek help again? It often feels like that's the case. Self-love is the only option nowadays. It's treated as a panacea of some sort. You cannot not be about yourself. Most of the time it feels like a commandment, not an option. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about if you've been to therapy in the last 10 or so years.
There's a serious problem in the field of therapy.
Everyone's practice seems to be based on self-love, self-forgiveness, and self-affirmation.
I had two reactions when I read this. The first is an internal frustration with the field of therapy.
And this sort of like idea that self-compassion and self-love is the end-all be-all of what we're trying to do in therapy.
For about half of patients, the single most revolutionary thing you can do for them is to teach them self-love. All of their problems will be fixed, but for half the people. The real problem is that for the other half, it doesn't seem to work.
If you're content with just yourself, that's great. I'm not. I cannot bear not having love. Without love, I'll slowly wash away like tears in the rain. I need this blissful connection. The type of love that feels more extinct than existent. More biblical than present. Not all love is blissful, of course. Most of it isn't. I know how miserable it can get out of my own experience. It can be beautiful and it can get pretty ugly. Transistor portrays both. Sybil was a member of the Camerata who suggested they target red in the first place. And in contrast with Adam, she's the embodiment of society. Constantly ongoing, extremely social, and it is strongly suggested in the lyrics of Red Song and Circles that Sybil was also in love with Red. She was obsessed, in fact. She knew Adam would be there with Red. The United Nation attempt took place. She wanted to use the Camerata to dispose of Adam, not of Red. In the event, the Camerata lost possession of the Transistor, and the process that was subordinate to it has gone haywire. Her unrequited love was a de facto cause of all this. The cause of an immeasurable amount of death. Sybil's blood did not go as intended. She was in so much pain, she chose to stay in that very concert hall. You find her already being processed, delusional and broken. She effectively gave up.
Saved you. Always wanted to. Finally, can be.
Transistor is an exception precisely because it shows stuff like this. It's a rare sight to see love that is central, complex, and problematic. Love that causes something. In Firewatch, for example, you leave everything and escape into Wyoming wilderness because your wife is succumbing to dementia. Love is the de facto cause for everything that happens next in the game story. And that for some reason is very unusual for video games. Love in games is a service, a side quest. If it's present, it's usually very one-dimensional. Characters rarely, if ever, ruin their lives because of love, rarely die because of love. And I want to see a character struggle, suffer, and die because of love. I want to see them cry and I want to see their pain.
I loved you, you goddamn bastard! Go on, shoot me!
And oh god, please show me characters immeasurably happy and dying in agony because of something I care about. Please do. Do that sometimes. I do think it's a shame that something so powerful and complex as love is virtually absent in the most powerful and complex art medium. Commercial video games stay away from themes like this. There is simply no demand for that kind of thing. And because love itself is becoming irrelevant and is also largely absent in smaller indie projects, people just don't care enough to create experiences about love, tell stories about love. When I said you have to dig too into horror map depths to find love as a central narrative point, I wasn't joking. Recently, I stumbled upon this thread on Reddit titled, "What's the greatest love story ever witnessed in a video game?" The first 10 comments I saw were just straight up jokes. I may or may not think that some of them are silly, but it's just daunting. Scattered in between are some storylines from video games that are of my age or even older, reminding me of how uncontemporary love is. I didn't even have a chance to experience some of those physically, because here where I come from, home consoles were more of a luxury. And then I saw the highest voted serious comment, being non-romantic love, Ellie and Joel from The Last of Us, in a thread specifically asking about stories of romantic love. It's beyond daunting how much of an issue love is for other people, how undeserving it is of attention or even a thought. People may still find stories about it emotional and touching on occasion, but it's not the cause nor the reason for anything. Its fate is to be one of 2 or 3 lines of dialogue in the entire game that are completely optional to the experience, well hidden in some ruins.
Kusa, that's a new name. We can hear the other escape pods' distress signals, which gives me hope. Foley, are you still here? I am unsure how to survive in this place without you. Man, I am unsure how to be me without you. I don't know why that is hitting me so hard right now.
Every piece of text in the game, well, every piece of Know My text in the game, either communicates a clue, sets up a piece of world lore, or builds on themes and characterization. Usually, it's all 3 at once, and it's always this one, except for like a handful of flavor text that I wrote. We really didn't have a lot of space for that.
Experiences like Transistors are necessary for people like me. And I'm not being overdramatic, but there are so few. I can recall Haven, another narrative-centric experimental action RPG where 2 lovers get stranded on a distant alien planet, but that's pretty much it. I can't recall anything else recent. You really have to dig to dim off levels to find something meaningful. There are many consequences this absence can have. Being left out from an entire medium. Self-reflection is important for any kind of change. Unfortunately, there is nothing to reflect on, nothing to question, nothing to challenge. Close to nothing in the biggest, most consumed fiction medium of today, mind you. It just doesn't make much sense. The fact that change is expected of you when you're given no point of view besides your own. Some studies dived into the possibility that this thing may not need treatment or change, as long as it gives more fulfillment than causes misery. But who determines what amount of love is enough and what's too much? What love is healthy and what love is unhealthy? Who evaluates that? In fact, the continuation of research in my thing opens up many questions, moral and practical questions. This approach, this attitude, this likening of love to an addictive substance, reduction to a chain of chemical reactions that we understand more and more, it may open up Pandora's box. It paves the road to medicalization of love. Love itself can become treatable, obedient, and subservient to a simple pill one could be prescribed. It's something that humanity has toyed with in science fiction, and my mere existence is contributing to it becoming a possible reality, and in my honest, uneducated opinion, a very near and guaranteed reality. I find this topic fascinating and I'll probably dive into it. I want to dive into a lot of stuff. I do quite frankly have things to say, questions to ask, perhaps on this channel even. So if you want to hear an unemployed 20-year-old ramble about stuff, mainly video games, anime, and psyche, you can look forward to that kind of stuff. Transistor stands out because it asks questions. It gives a lot to reflect on, from the very beginning to the very end, from the opening shot to the closing one. The ending asks a lot of questions. By the end, Cloudbank resembles a blank canvas more than it does a city. The process didn't spare even that flatbread place.
Oh, not junction jams. Where are we gonna get our flatbread now? This is a tragedy.
Throughout the game, Red was on the hunt for members of the Camerata. She wanted answers. She wanted Auden back. Red managed to find Royce, the last member of the Camerata left. He gave some answers, but he himself wasn't that sure what was going on, or what Transistor really was. Transistor was in fact the tool that was responsible for the proper functioning of Cloudbank's simulated reality.
Transistor. Well, it can build a bridge. For example, that's something. People want a bridge to Fairview, sure.
This better work.
Why, it can make just about anything happen. Really.
That was before the Camerata discovered Transistor and tried to shape a new reality. One where a change would have meaning. Roy suggested that returning Transistor where it belonged would fix everything.
I am positively certain 100% 100% that this will work, which is transistor plus cradle equals no more process. Look, no matter what happens, just, I love you. You know that, right? It's time. Bye for now. But I will see you again. I will see you again.
And the process was indeed calmed by this action. The problem is, after the immediate threat was gone, Royce himself succumbed to possession.
Well, the process, I think we got it. Contained it. So, the town is going to be all right. It's just, well, someone's going to have to rebuild. How about me?
A lot in this game is caused by obsession, by people choosing one thing above everything else. But before I talk about such stuff, I have to issue a quick trigger warning. Please be advised that shortly I'll talk about very sensitive issues and my personal experience with them. In particular, that and radiation. There is a timestamp to skip ahead on the screen and in the description. Practically everyone in Transistor dies because of an obsession. Royce was the one that discovered Transistor, and since that moment he has been obsessed with it. Sybil took love too far. She was lost in this obsession. Asher, a member of the Camerata, was unable to live on without his husband Grant, who himself being the city's administrator as well as the leader of the Camerata was unable to cope with the consequences of what they've done. He gave up. They both gave up. They couldn't live without something they loved dearly. Grant without his city and Asher without his Grant.
Why he would leave me? I'd sooner take an eternity in the Transistor. And we knew that if we were to fail, we would do so together. As one. See you in the country.
Auden, being Red's presumed bodyguard as well as her lover, in an instant got rid of his body and thus placed her life above his own. And Red, well, she has agency and she acts on it.
Now you're here. And me. And that's it.
After the struggle with Royce was over, Red found herself to be a god of sorts. The sole owner of this now empty world. A blank canvas, and she has a brush.
I guess it's yours now. A blank canvas. And you still have the brush. So where do you want to start? Head back to your place in high-rise. Fit some gold walk.
The problem is, she didn't embark on this journey to fix things. She's no savior. She still can't see Adam's face. Can't hold his hand.
Hey. Oh. Look. That's not me. Not anymore. I'm still with you. But I'm not getting out of here. Red? Hey. What are you doing? Wait, what are you doing? Red. Don't you do it. Don't you dare. Don't do this. Please. If you do this. Red, please don't. Wait. Red! Red. No, Red. What did you do? No, Red, no.
Red chose to spend eternity in the Transistor with someone she loves. To move out to the country. I daydreamed about this. Of me giving up everything to be with someone I love. At times daily, and I know what's scary. I was happy when I imagined these things. And I was happy when I saw this ending. Cathartic even. I felt heard. At peace. It can be argued that this ending romanticizes death. It may. I can tell you what I feel about it personally. Apart from maladaptive daydreaming, I also consciously considered giving up. Because I wasn't accepted, because nothing I knew of acknowledged my existence. And because of that, I didn't believe there were people like me, and thus I didn't believe I'll ever find love again. I'll ever find someone like me, someone who will need me as much as I need them. Everything around me is a reminder that I'm a remnant of the past that was beached into the 21st century, the century of self. What I deem important is important close to no one. I don't belong in here and now. I don't think I ever belonged anywhere, actually. I love Celeste for a story about climbing a seemingly insurmountable mountain. I love Outer Wilds for how comfortable it made feeling small on the scale of everything to me. But me, who I am, I'm optional flavor text. Everywhere, pretty much. Love is flavor text. It feels as if love is left out of causality. I believe this all-encompassing secondary attitude towards love presents a real problem for people with my condition. For those that may wish to pursue change and for those that don't. Transistor comforts me. Tells me it's okay to be me if I wish so. It's a love story, through and through. A story where love is where the sky should be.
But when I look up to where the sky should be, I see you.
Transistor's ending was a healing experience for me. Both parts of this ending. The one that I showed you and the one that I'm yet to. What I got from it was therapy, acceptance, strength to keep searching. Perhaps there is a discussion to be had about treading the line between encouragement and acceptance. Perhaps any acceptance of this unhealthy love attachment is encouragement. I don't know. I'm for sure in a better state now. But because of my condition, it's unbearable to live without a loved one. Nothing holds value. Time doesn't, and that's the scariest part. The last few years of my life have passed in the blink of an eye. I don't value the time I spend on Earth. Sometimes I wish I could simply skip forward to the moment of my death. With the press of a button, as if my life was a video game or a video cassette. I, in fact, not just wish for that button. I possess one. Because of how miserable my life is, I was forced to learn how to cope. One such method was destruction. Mindless and endless destruction. I have mastered the craft of wasting time. I've skipped through my life. Without a loved one, I merely exist, devoid of any meaning, and I wither away slowly. I feel like I won't be anything anymore in a little while. It feels as if I took a nap a few years ago and woke up to me turning 21. And yes, I've aged 1 year while I was making this. Happy birthday to me, I guess.
Happy birthday to you.
Everything seems to promote emotional independence as the only answer, pretty much. Self seems to be the only answer. But here's the question. Do I need treatment though? If I'm at peace with myself, even if I'm struggling in the moment. If I have a dream, if I know exactly what I want from life fairly early on. Don't people go well under their 40s not knowing their purpose? Let's go about it this way. Do I want to live any other way? Do I want to become someone else? No. No, I don't. People do not understand me. Society wants me to accept myself fully, chase my dreams. Yet the next second it tells me I have no right to exist the way that I am. A very silly example perhaps, but r/codependency subreddit has a banner with the words "Be with someone that makes you happy" written on it. But the word "with" is crossed out, so it reads "Be someone that makes you happy." It feels as if I have to be treated. I have to be changed. I'm not given agency to be myself. In the research paper I recently mentioned on treatment prospects for love addiction, there is a huge emphasis put on agency. On the fact that if I don't want to be treated, I shouldn't be forced to. That it should be my decision. Apart from that single research paper, I don't see that emphasis.
Oh, is this all?
I feel like an outcast, shunned upon by the outcasts and a cast of outcasts. I don't hate myself, but loving myself won't satisfy this external need I have. Depending on the definition, I may very well love myself by accepting myself fully, unconditionally. I accept that me is not enough. I'm not satisfied with just myself. I'm deeply unhappy. This need for a significant other is so deeply rooted that I'm past change. I fully accepted it. It became a core part of my identity. It became me. It happened at a very crucial point of my life, when I was discovering who I am, and I was establishing what I deem important in life. I was just a wandering teenager with no goals, with no idea what future I want for myself. Now I have a goal, a dream, a reason to exist. The reason to exist. If you struggle with the same issues, with the same condition, please remain open for options. Therapy did help me in many ways. It did help me better understand my place in this world, my situation. I'm not trying to encourage you to live your life the way I intend to live mine. And as for me, I'm conscious about the risks of being so dependent on one person. I'm conscious of the reasons I became who I am. But I want to be happy. I need love. Without it, I'm nothing. For me to change would mean to remove the foundation from the bottom of a 10-story building. Of course, you can scavenge whatever's left for materials to build something new, but that wouldn't be me anymore. That would be someone else. Despite all the misery, I do not wish to become someone else. I've learned that it's worth to be yourself. If there's something I want you to take away is that it's always worth to be yourself. As long as you're not hurting anyone by doing so, please be yourself. Despite everything and everyone.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
I really do want to be happy. I want to feel loved. I wish for heaven to be stranded on a distant alien planet with someone I love. I wish I could move to the country with my second half, like Red did. What makes me keep going is that I don't believe that I'll find the special someone I'm looking for. Sometimes, at least. I do get out there and try and meet new people when I have a spark, a sliver of hope. But this spark makes everything so worth it. When I imagine how it will feel to be in love again, to be loved again, but this time by someone who truly needs me, it makes it worth it, tenfold. Because I will make up for it. For every last second. I'm in love with a soulmate I haven't met yet. I hope you heard me by now. I think it's time you hear Red as well. Remember I told you that I wanted you to hear a particular song by Red. A song of hers that I see as a promise, both to myself and to someone I'm searching for.